Welcome back, everyone, to Radiant Resilience. I'm very excited for this conversation today. I have with me Elaine Lindsay. She is the Dark Pollyanna, and she is finely tuned chaos with a boatload of compassion. Behind the brand is Elaine Lindsay, an unfiltered speaker, resilience mentor, and podcast host with 50 plus years of lived experience navigating suicidal ideation, trauma, chronic illness, and the power of showing up anyway. Elaine's blend of wit, vulnerability, and digital brilliance earned her a feature in Understanding Social Media and a spot as a top 100 global thought leader in 2024. Through Suicide Zen Forgiveness and her TDP platform, she transforms lived pain into real talk, community, and hope. Whether on stage, behind the mic, or one-on-one, Elaine is where radical presence meets smart strategy with a whole lot of heart. She has a quote on here that says, "Show up, even messy, spin the chaos, own the day." I love that. Welcome, Elaine. How are you?
Thank you so much for welcoming me, and I am great. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. It appears you've been through a lot in life. I'm very excited to hear your story and then talk about the work you're doing now for suicide and all that stuff. It sounds very interesting, and I think a lot of people listening could probably use that help. So I'm going to let you start wherever you would like to start, my dear.
Okay, I thought I'd make it easy for us. I'm going to give you the sound bites and then we can unpack it from there.
Okay.
So I've died 3 times.
Oh, gosh.
First, I was alone and pregnant, and then
Mm.
2 times on an operating table.
Oh, my gosh.
I've buried my child, most of my family, my dearest friends. I've suffered multiple miscarriages, yet I remain unbroken. Malpractice left me surviving 3 botched surgeries,
Jeez.
2 clinical deaths, and I spent 7 months with my esophagus diverted out my neck after
7 months?
surgery. 7 months,
Wow.
7.5 actually.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, the surgeon had another surgeon slit my throat.
Oh my gosh.
Finally, fed through a tube in my side for 13 months. And that gives you an idea that life's been, let's say, different.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know where to begin with that.
I,
Oh.
I think I'm going to start taking pictures when I finish saying that soundbite. People
Mm.
just look like,
It's a lot. It's a lot to face death that many times was that obviously we can go into this more, but was that surgeon doing that on purpose?
he was. Should he have been? No, no, he
Well,
should
of
not.
course he should not have been, but
Yeah. He, of everything, and there's more that's not even there, but of everything, he is the Moriarty of my life. When people are very full of themselves and don't think they ever make mistakes, they
Mm.
are the most dangerous people in the world.
Wow.
And sometimes we are our own worst enemy.
This is true. What brought you to all of those surgeries?
Yeah. So I'll start with the early stuff because it all ties
Yeah.
together. So even as a child, I had suicidal ideation.
Mm.
Didn't know what it was. I just knew that if I got in trouble or I dropped a glass or whatever, one of the options in my head was always I could just stop living. And not knowing that everybody didn't think like that. When you're a child, you just assume you're like everybody else.
Yeah.
Things as a child were a little chaotic. We came to Canada when I was 3. We brought my aunt and my grandmother rather than our material belongings because family is everything. But my aunt was very ill.
Okay.
And just a year and a half after we came to Ottawa, my father joined the Canadian Forces. He had been in the British Forces. And it meant we were transferred 5 hours away. My
Mm.
grandmother and my aunt stayed in Ottawa.
Okay.
And that meant every time the phone rang, there was a chance that we would have to get in the car and drive because my aunt was dying or died or whatever. It made life very chaotic.
Mm.
They didn't see it that way as a child. I only figured that out in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It's hindsight's a wonderful thing.
It's so
But
frustrating that
it
hindsight is
is. It
2020. And
is.
I don't know. I've been in many of those situations where I'm like, why? Why do I have to have hindsight? Why couldn't I have seen that beforehand?
Yeah, at the time would have been really useful.
Yeah.
But I had great parents. My aunt and my grandmother taught me a million things. I would not want another family. I was quite happy where I was. When you don't know any better, I was excited that I was my dad's navigator. Whenever we had to pack up at 2 in the morning and drive 10 hours, 5 hours one way, 5 hours the other, it just meant I got to be the navigator. I got
Mm.
to do stuff for my dad. And so for me, that was exciting. Combine that with the ideation. And when I was 6, I saw the movie Pollyanna.
Okay.
Pollyanna was about a kid getting dumped on her aunt who was very strict. And she played something called the glad game every day. She learned it from her father. And eventually things got really dire for her. And of course, it's Disney. It all turned out wonderful in the end. Ta-da, the end. For me, that was a wonderful thing because the ideation became half and Pollyanna became the other half. And so she was able to balance out, if you will, and take on a little more, get the joy for me rather than the ideation. When I was 12 years old, I started working in a mental institution as a
Oh,
volunteer every Sunday, so that by the time I was 15, the provincial government got a special dispensation so I could actually be paid to work as a summer intern.
okay.
No 15-year-old should work at a
Mm.
mental institution.
Yeah.
I can say that now. I saw things that I should not have seen, that adults should not see.
Whose
Uh,
idea was that? Was that your idea or was that a
oh,
family
of
that was
course it
like,
was. It
go
was
work it
my
in?
idea. All of the bad ideas are always mine. Guaranteed, I'm the one that steps up. I have a spiritual advisor who tells me that our souls decide whether they want like the big rides or they just want the teacups. I
Mm.
picked the giant roller coasters and
I would
make sure the bigger the better.
Yeah, I would think though at 15 or 12 even, that seems like something a parent might have been like, "Oh yeah, you should go get a job. You should go work at that mental hospital."
Actually, my parents were aghast because
Okay.
they weren't sure. First of all, it was an hour away. I had to take a
Oh,
bus. There were a bunch of us went from school. The others were actually older than me. I
okay.
was younger than everybody in my class. So I just
Mm,
wanted to do what the bigger kids
yeah.
did. And I ended up being the swimming teacher for the adult training unit. So I was teaching one of our students. Fred was 6'5",
Mm,
and Fred only did what Fred wanted to do when Fred wanted to do it.
okay.
So you learn. I learned some very valuable lessons, and I learned ways to cajole people into doing things that wouldn't make them angry, that
Mm,
wouldn't take away their ownership of themselves. And I don't know how I knew how to do that. I just did. My little cousin had a different form of disease that there was only one in a couple million people had, and she was different her whole life.
mm,
And in a way, this was me helping Janice, although
mm,
I couldn't really help Janice,
mm.
so I went here. Anyway, all of that to say that that becomes very important late in life. But when I was 13, there was a song on the radio called "We're Coming to Take You Away, Ha He Ho Ho, to the Funny Farm, where life is beautiful all the time."
Mm,
Really sick and sad songs back then, but it gave me more information to keep me quiet.
mm.
And then being at the mental institution, a boy who went to school with me, who actually lived in the home for wayward boys because he'd run away too often, was incarcerated in the institution 3 days after I started working there.
Oh, wow.
By the end of the summer, he wasn't the same person anymore.
Mm,
And I could not have articulated it back then. Humans don't rise to the highest vibration, they lower to the most common denominator so
mm,
that everybody fits in. And that's exactly what happened to him.
mm,
All of these things are to say that I learned from everything around me to keep my thoughts to myself. They were dangerous, and I could probably be locked up myself. That was always a little thing playing in my head. When I was 16, my dear friend Andrea took her own life on New Year's Eve. And for me, that became the end of me at that point
oh,
because I didn't want to feel the feelings I was feeling. I didn't want to live this way. I didn't want to go ahead and her not go ahead. And
mm,
all of this was tied up with the fact that this ideation just ruled the inside of my head.
mm.
And I now knew what taking my life meant. And so it seems, in hindsight, we learn much later in life, but I actually receded to about 12 years old.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I stayed there till about 3 years ago.
Oh, just
There was a part of me that was just 12. I was not good with finance. I was not all the things that people call now adulting,
yeah.
just didn't. I lived in the moment. I'm married more than once. I have children. And it was live for today, give those children everything I can.
Mm,
Very often to their and my detriment,
mm,
because for me, it was let's just live. 4 years after Andrea died, I was crushed between three cars on a highway directly in front of her grave.
whoa.
I lost half of my leg vertically from the calf up my thigh. Part of my femur and my calf, my knees were smashed. Both legs were broken. I fractured my skull. I
Mm.
dislocated my shoulder. I had massive internal injuries. And I was 6.5 months pregnant.
Oh my
They took the
gosh.
baby. All of this had come just a year after I had a little girl who died the day she was born.
Mm,
I was 19. So by 20 years of age, in my head, I'm 12. I'm totally irresponsible. I am not what one would call an adult at all. I have a 2 year old,
mm,
thank God, who is alive and well.
mm,
And I am now something in the hospital that she can't get anywhere near.
mm,
I spent the first 5 months with them doing what they call debridements and getting prepped to do the skin grafting to try and close my leg.
mm,
And I was not the most self confident person. I always thought I was just long, long legs for 5'2", not the
mm.
tallest person either, and big blue eyes. And for me, 5 weeks after being in the hospital, I got to see my leg, or
Mm,
rather, the hole where my leg should have been. And I
mm,
just totally freaked out.
mm,
I was at a total loss. What was I now? Nothing but blue
mm,
eyes. And it just annihilated me. I started being more of an angry victim. I
mm,
couldn't ride my bike anymore. I couldn't ski. I couldn't skate. I
mm.
couldn't ride horses. I couldn't even walk my daughter in her stroller. I couldn't do any of those things. It took me months and months to learn to walk again.
Wow.
And even that was not what it had once been.
Yeah.
The next 5 years was surgery after surgery. I have no kneecaps in either leg. I have no cartilage on either side of either leg. I had to have more plastic surgery.
Jeez.
My shoulder had to be repaired. I lost my gallbladder. They did a number of other internal surgeries,
Wow.
some of which I couldn't even tell you what they are. I was constantly in and out of hospital, and it just made me a really nasty victim who was constantly defensive.
The
Yeah,
anger that you were experiencing at your life and your life not becoming what it should have been or what you wanted it to be, that's really hard. And at such a young age.
yeah. And in the accident, I had gone out at 2 in the morning to give someone a lift who'd been picked up for drinking and driving.
Mm. Oh,
And a policeman pulled us over, and he didn't know how to use booster cables, which is why I was standing between the cars
oh,
on the road. And he's 6'2". I'm 5'2". I didn't see the lights as they hit the curve. He
oh,
did. He dove into the snowbank and saved himself.
oh, wow.
The young man who hit my car ran a quarter mile up the road and woke some people up so that he could call an ambulance because this was 1976. There were no cell phones.
Yeah.
There was none of that. I lay on that highway 2.5 lanes over for over half an hour as I slowly bled out. The good thing was it was minus 30 Fahrenheit, and the blood was literally freezing around me. It was so cold.
Oh, wow.
And that's a bonus because I'm still here. Did end up with frostbite in two little toes, but
Mm.
I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah.
All of this to say this was horrific and it made me a pretty nasty person.
Mm.
But what it did on top of that, it had me put on weight. I was on cortisone for 5 years.
Mm.
Every month I got shots. That contributed to it. I thought it was just me. I thought I was disgusting. I hated me. And I just went through life hating me and lashing out because I was in pain 24/7. And of course, there were lots and lots of drugs
Mm.
going in and going in. I do not recommend at
Mm.
this late date. However, okay, about 19, I ruined my marriage. I
Mm.
then remarried. I had a little boy in 1982, and I saw Oprah. I believe it was late 82 or 83, and she was talking about a vertical banded gastroplasty.
Mhm.
This was before the term bariatric surgery came out.
Okay.
It was a weight loss surgery where they stapled your stomach. And I immediately thought, that's it. That's what I need. That's going to fix me.
Mm.
And my whole family thought I was nuts. They wanted nothing to do with this. This was crazy.
Wasn't
But
that surgery originally pretty risky? Like now I think they've perfected it, but originally I think I remember it being very dangerous, right?
yes, yes, it was. It was very dangerous. I poo pooed that part.
Mm.
But
You'd had so many surgeries up until then. That was like normal for you.
thank you. Thank you. Yes. And see, that's how I presented it to the family. Like, I'm
Yeah.
an old hand at this. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. I'll be good. No problem. And the universe or the divine or God or whatever you call that higher power, if we want confirmation, whether it's good or bad, we're going to get it. Okay. It's just how it works. That's what free will is all about. So one Sunday, my son was very little. We were at a restaurant with the whole family. I went into the washroom. And as I was at the sink washing my hands, a woman came out of a stall behind me. And she looked at me in the mirror and she said, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. Why are you fat?"
Oh my God.
That was divine confirmation. You
Mm.
are disgusting. You have to be fixed. You've got to do something right away. How dare you walk the streets, you creature? That's what went through my head.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why would somebody say that? I am just frequently amazed at people sometimes and what comes out of their
Well, because it was the universe giving me what I wanted. I don't blame her. I couldn't even tell you who she is. I don't even remember.
mouth.
But that very next day, Monday morning, I called my doctor, actually my gynecologist, and said, get a hold of the doctor that does this. I know there's a doctor in Ottawa. This is his name, and he's at your hospital. Get it set up. So for the rest of that year, up until the end of the summer, I danced through all the hoops. I went to the psychologist. I did everything I was asked. I passed all the tests. And by the beginning of September, I had lost 30 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And so I was ready to go in for this.
Did you have to
I
be under a certain weight to do it?
No, but you had to show commitment.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I was by the end of or the beginning of July, I was with a cosmetics company. I sold the most of anybody, and the district or provincial person in charge. I won a trip to Vegas for convention and got to see Tom Hopkins, the motivational speaker, and spend a week in Vegas. And when I came home, I had 2 days to prep to go in the hospital. I came home, I had everything set up. I had sitters for the children. I had it all ready because I was only going to be gone 3 weeks. I would go in for the surgery. They would put a tube in my side that I would feed through, and that would be there for 3 weeks. I
Mm.
could have nothing by mouth, no
Mm.
water, nothing. It all had to go in that tube. And right after 3 weeks, they would take it out, and then life would go on. And I was cool with that. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. And so on the Sunday night, we went to the hospital. And the first inkling of an issue, they put in what they call a central line between your collarbone and your chest bone. It seems that my collarbone and my chest bone were terribly close together. One in 600,000 people have them that close. And of course, that's me. They did manage to get the IV going,
Okay.
and they re explained what would happen the next morning. Everything was good. Off I went to the OR. When I came back, there was a young nurse, a student nurse, who was basically assigned to me for the week I would be in the hospital. And she was helping me with the feeding through the tube and making sure I understood how to do that, and just the general stuff you do after surgery, getting up out of bed, what have you. I very quickly, unfortunately, developed a fever,
Oh, no.
and it was getting higher and higher. And by the third day, I had this weird pain in my shoulder blade, which was really strange. I thought, wow, that is weird, because the surgery was nowhere near my shoulder blade.
Yeah.
But I had told the young nurse, and she put it in her notes. As it turns out, the doctor wasn't really big on reading other people's notes.
Oh, good.
When, yeah, yeah. Friday morning, I was supposed to go for a swallow, so they were supposed to test the pouch that had been made. And then, if everything was good, I could go home. For whatever reason, they couldn't do it that day. So they told me I could go home Saturday morning
Mm.
as long as I promised to come back on Tuesday for the swallow. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm much more happier at home. I want to go home. I went home with nothing for pain.
Mm.
The nurse noted before I left that the fever was now 102
Mm.
and wasn't going down. And the pain in my shoulder was a little bit worse. I didn't want to complain. I went home Saturday morning. By Saturday at supper time, I could neither sit nor lie down nor stand up. I was in absolute agony. And so my husband called the hospital because I couldn't have anything by mouth and I had taken nothing for pain. There was nothing I could do. But you have to remember, this was experimental surgery back then. It was 1983. Nobody knew about it except the doctors
Mm.
that doing it, and there was only the one here. What we didn't know, there were, counting me, 37 people in the cohort for this surgery. and he had already killed two.
Oh my gosh.
So my husband got me to the emergency, and the doctor who saw me, after checking me out, told my husband, I'm going to give her a shot. She is in obvious distress. We're going to give you a prescription that you can then break down and put in her tube. And she's supposed to come back Tuesday to see the doctor so we can figure it out because I don't know anything about this
Mm.
surgery. And we heard that a lot later. Anyway, he came in to give me the shot. And as he left, he had the curtain partway open, talking to me. And the resident who was in my surgery came through the emergency. I didn't see him, but my husband did. And my husband said the look on his face absolutely terrified him. He didn't know what was wrong, but he knew something was. Now, this guy had not spoken to anybody yet. The next thing I know, I guess he went and spoke to the emergency surgeon or the emergency doctor who dealt with me. And they were coming back in and telling me, yeah, you can't go just yet. I said, no, I'm good. We've got the prescription. I'm going home.
Yeah.
No, you have to stay. And I spoke to my husband, and it was now after 11, I think, at night or pretty close. And they brought in the head of X-ray, which I thought was weird. And Dr. Zappala took me down to do a swallow to check things out, which I thought was strange. But when he came out after, he said, there's a problem. There seems to be a gastric leak, and we're going to have to take you back to surgery. Oh, no, I don't. I don't need this. This
Yeah.
is awful. That morning, just before 7 o'clock, the surgeon came by. We were in the hallway, and it was really odd because he was so loud. I wasn't used to him talking that loud, but there were people in the hallway, and he said, oh, go ahead. Come on, tell us. What did you eat or drink? I know you had something. And I was really offended. I was angry.
Yeah.
I said, are you kidding me? I've been jumping through your hoops for almost a year.
Yeah.
Everyone in my family is angry with me
Yeah.
to do this. Why would I jeopardize something I fought so hard to do?
Yeah.
That doesn't even make any sense.
No.
I thought, what? This is so weird. The next thing you know, I'm being taken to the OR. And here's where the repetitive bits start. We'll never know what actually happened in that OR because there are 3 OR reports for the
Three
same
different
surgery.
ones.
Uh-huh. They don't say the same thing, and if it didn't have my name on it, you wouldn't know they were talking about the same person. Like,
Wow.
yeah. So we don't know what actually happened. Later, 11 years later, when we went to court, we now surmise that he didn't take everything down when he went in. He
Okay.
had used the machine, it's called a trocar, that was cutting the holes. And for whatever reason, one hole was circular, and however they held it, the other circle was not. It
Okay.
was probably oblong, so there was a leak in it. We understand that he may have manually sutured it, he may have just wrapped it in omentum. There's this stuff inside your body that's like glue, and that they will use that sometimes for broken bones, or if they've done put in stitches and take out your appendix, whatever, they'll wrap the ends momentum in order to let it heal. What he basically did in that second surgery was he wrapped a pouch of infection, allowing it to percolate,
Oh my gosh.
and closed me back up. And they sent me up to a room, palliative care, with 3 people who all died within 4 days.
Oh my
I was
God.
27 years old, and I thought I was next.
So all those people had been through the same surgery with the same
No,
surgeons.
they
Okay.
they were just palliative patients
Oh,
for
okay.
other things. I didn't know why they were there. I just
Okay.
knew that no one left that room alive,
Oh, oh, geez.
and it was terrifying.
Yeah.
By the third day, my fever was 105.
Jeez.
I was starting to be delirious. They had already started blood transfusions, like a lot of them. And they, my lung, my left lung developed an abscess. And I don't know the order, it collapsed. And they had my husband hold me over the tray table on the bed so they could cut a hole in my side to put in a tube
Oh my
for
gosh.
this chest machine. That was one of the scariest things I've ever had done in my life.
Oh,
On the fifth day, I was pretty much delirious. I had developed a rash all over because they kept having to put flannelette sheets on me because I was chittering all the time. That was from the fever.
yeah.
On day 20, they took me back to x-ray, and Dr. Sapala said he was doing a special gastrographin swallow. I didn't know what that was. It tasted like motor oil.
Ugh.
It was awful. And when he was finished, he said, "You're going to have to sign some papers. We have to reoperate.
Oh,
You're dying."
oh my gosh.
I said, "No, I'm done. I'm just going to go home now. Okay. We can just sign me out. I'm just going to go home." I couldn't have stood if my life depended on it, but I was just done being poked and prodded and
Yeah.
cut holes in, and it was
Because
enough.
this also was not your first surgery effort
No,
either.
no, exactly. But in 20 days, it was the third in some very difficult surgery.
Yeah.
I got a nurse to bring me a phone because there were no cell phones in those days. There was nothing portable really.
Mhm.
But she brought a phone, and I phoned my husband and I phoned my father. And I said, "Don't you dare, if you sign anything, I will never talk to you again." And both of them, thank God, didn't listen to me. And they signed because the doctors called them and said that I would be dead by dinner time. There was nothing more they could do. This leak had burst. I had peritonitis. I was going septic, and they weren't sure that they could save me. All of this on my daughter's birthday. She was 9. My parents decided they were going to take her out for dinner anyway, and my husband got to pace the halls. I was in surgery till late in the night, and they brought me to ICU where I stayed for 11 days. But let's go back to the surgical unit, and we get to go through the refrain again. We'll never know what actually happened because, although we do know some of it because the residents had to come to court, and the resident explained, and I don't know the order actually, but my heart stopped. And immediately, the surgeon who did all this started pulling everything apart because he was trying to cover his tracks.
Wow.
Residents were trying to get my heart started, and sadly for him, they did. Good for me.
Great for you.
Yeah,
But
but
he
it
knew
meant,
he was in trouble after that.
yeah. And because he was already being investigated, see, we didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
He was already on notice. If that was the first incident, the second incident was I stopped breathing and they couldn't get me breathing again. He went back to dismantling bits of me. The others were trying to get me breathing again. And when they did, he dismissed 2 of them. And then he called in another surgeon and he had him slit my throat and divert my esophagus out my neck. I think he thought if nothing could get to the stomach, then maybe it could heal
Okay.
and he wouldn't be in so much trouble. It's only my supposition when we look at all of the things that happened. When I woke up in ICU, I had a little tube going in my neck that was blowing air. I thought, why do I have a hole in my neck? I
Yeah.
don't understand. And then I had on my body these things that look like hand grenades. They're attached to a tube. They're called Jackson Pratts. I just call them hand grenades. There were two of them. And then there was a couple of tubes here that were hooked up to suction, but there were so many tubes coming out of me, there weren't enough places on the wall. So they had to use 3 gravity only machines to run them to the floor. And on my right side, low, I don't even know where he went, but there was a bigger tube that went to a bag, and I called him Hugo. Because Hugo where I go, and because Hugo went home with me, and I had Hugo for 7.5 months,
Wow.
thus the name. And the hole in my neck, I don't think you have to be a doctor to figure out saliva's like battery acid. If you leave it on your skin, it will actually blister. It will cause your skin to rupture. And like it's not pretty.
No.
That's what was happening because the saliva was bubbling. Sorry for your audience to hear the
But
gore, but
skip
the
through this
saliva was,
part if you're queasy.
yeah, yeah, don't listen for a minute.
Yeah.
But it was bubbling and it all my whole chest wall was
Oh.
raw and red and blistered. And after the 11 days when they took me, oh, sorry, I forgot. From my neck, just below that, my breastbone, all the way to my pelvis was wide open because he'd made such a mess. All the tissue was what they call friable, and they couldn't stitch it
Oh
because
my
it just fell
God.
apart in your hand,
Oh my
jello,
gosh.
loose. So they had to pack me 3 times a day until so that it could heal from the inside out.
Mm.
So you couldn't put sheets on me. They had a big tent over me because nothing could touch the open. You're not supposed to be open to the
Yeah.
air. No,
Not
your
that
insides
much.
aren't supposed to be on the outside. No, it's very unattractive, especially to people that are a little queasy. My poor mother just did
Mm.
not do well with that. When they took me up to a unit, the nurses were absolutely wonderful. The it must have been the first week I was there. The nurses realized how bad this was and how much it hurt. And they would come in, and by the end of the day, they would bring towels. All the towels that were just lightly soiled, they would put them all around my neck
Mm.
to try and keep the saliva off me.
Wow.
Somewhere in there, it gave a nurse 2 ideas. And they came in one night and said, okay, when everybody leaves, your visitors are gone, we have a surprise for you.
Hmm.
And they realized because now we're heading to the end of October. I've been here since the beginning of September.
Mm.
I don't want to be here. At this point, I don't think I want to be anywhere, to be honest.
Mm.
I was just tired of being in pain and having people come and poke me and
Mm.
not treat me like a human. I was just like a pincushion. Anyway, the nurses came back and they brought me a popsicle. I was in heaven. Oh my God. It was wonderful. And people look at me and go, yes, I fed through a tube in my side. So I was getting sustenance. Funny thing about that, every so often, the cafeteria would send up a strawberry milkshake. Strawberries have little pits on them. The little tube that goes into your bowel is little.
Oh.
So you can't put the strawberry in because it
Mm.
gets stuck.
Yeah.
And when it gets too stuck, they have to take you back to the OR,
Oh
cut
God.
another hole in your bowel, and put a whole new one in,
Wow.
which is really no fun. Anyway, the nurses were doing the best they could, but giving me this popsicle meant it was a holy mess around my neck. And I think maybe the nurse thought she'd do it once. That wasn't happening. It meant every night I wanted a
Yeah.
popsicle.
Yes.
So there were stacks of towels in the hallway every morning. with like streaks of blue or purple or orange. I think the cleaning people must have wondered what the hell goes on here at night.
Are they finger painting? What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. And it gave one of the nurses a really bright idea. She came in one day with a lady and she said, this is, I think her name was Nadine, and she was the stoma therapist. And I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
She said she teaches people how to use colostomy bags.
Oh.
And I thought, oh my God, what have they done to me now? She goes, no,
Yeah.
no, we're going to put it on your neck to try and let your skin heal. It should only come off every 2 or 3 days. And sorry, again, you can close your ears, but the saliva would be collected in the bag. And so you could take that off and get
Okay.
rid of it rather than have it ruin my skin.
That seems like a pretty creative idea.
It was a brilliant idea. It could be painful sometimes taking it on and off, but it was only every couple of days, which
Yeah.
was better than constantly 24/7 this drip.
Yeah.
And it meant I could have a popsicle every for a
Oh.
few weeks. And then Hugo, he ratted me out.
Oh.
One thing we don't realize is our bodies are such an incredible miracle. Try to
Just
heal themselves.
just listening to everything you've said and thinking you lived through all of that, like that really is a testament to what our bodies can do.
Absolutely. But it was trying to heal, even though my neck was
Mm.
open.
Yeah.
So little bits of the popsicle was getting through.
Mm.
And this weird kind of rusty, orangey brown stuff went into Hugo. And the doctor saw it.
Mm.
Could
Damn,
not
Hugo.
see. Yeah. So, oh, you do me dirty like that? That was awful. I wouldn't talk to him for ages.
Fair.
But the doctor was so angry.
Mm.
He told me he was writing me up.
This is the same doctor who did the surgery to
Yeah,
begin with, right? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna
yeah,
write
yeah,
me up? Okay, we'll talk about that later.
yeah. Have at her, bud.
Yeah.
I found it odd that he continued to be so annoyed with me. I had purposefully ruined his work.
Yeah. That was your
Yeah,
fault.
yeah, yeah. Dear me, how awful was I? Anyway, life went on there, and eventually I got to go home. So I was home for Christmas
Hmm.
and then came back in January. And that's when we got to see the second surgeon, the one that had slit my throat. And he was prepping to put it back together.
Okay.
He couldn't do it till mid March.
Oh, wow.
So it had been since September. And finally, in mid March, he started putting it back together.
And that through that whole time, let me just clarify, you were not eating solid foods then, correct?
Oh, I was eating nothing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I was living on milkshakes and trying not to get strawberry ones.
Mm.
Funny and yucky story at Christmas. God bless my parents. My mom felt terrible, and so did my dad. And they said, okay, we have an idea. We're going to take a wee bit turkey and a wee bit gravy, and we're going to put it in the blender,
Oh.
and you can have that. You're not going to make everybody else at the dinner table sick while I. No, absolutely not. But they meant well.
Yeah,
They
of
really,
course.
our family really stepped up and did
Mm.
what they could because it was a horrific time for
Yeah.
everybody. And when he finally was putting it back together, it had been apart too long and caused a. I have a pouch here inside. And it took almost a year for them to do what they call dilatation because it was so small when they put it back together, I couldn't swallow.
Mm.
And so they had to put these, they look like big bullets, and
Mm.
they take you to surgery and they put down a couple of bullets, like as the size would get a little bigger. And they did that every few weeks for months to try and get this to stretch out. It stretched, but then there's the pouch below, and water sticks there, sometimes rice.
Oh.
It's lovely because I whoop like a crane. Very attractive.
Oh.
And when I yawn, people think that either I'm about to burst out crying or something terrible has happened because it's a
Oh
there's a
my.
hitching. Oh my God. And people are like, oh, are you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just
Oh,
yawning. So it does make for interesting conversation with people.
sure.
But again, for 7 months, 7.5 months, I wore the colostomy bag, and the colostomy bag hung down my neck, probably about to my breastbone, and had a clip at the bottom, like you put on a bag of chips. And it was clear plastic. Let me tell you, that is a bitch to accessorize.
Mm.
Nothing
I
goes with clear
bet.
plastic.
No.
But I will, before we go on, I want to tell you one little story. I was so thrilled because I didn't know that I didn't have my stomach stapled. It had only been 20 days and he took it all apart. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that for almost 12 years. But I kept
Whoa.
losing weight because I was unable to eat. So by June, I was small and frail and very weak. And my girlfriend, who lived at the other end of town, she sent her boyfriend in his little ragtop Mercedes to come and get me.
Mm,
And we were going to go to her house so she could see the new me.
mm,
I was so excited. I still couldn't eat, but that didn't matter. I put on the color of your sweater, like a French vanilla white boucle dress and a white wool jacket. And off we went in his car. And when we got to her place, he helped me get out of the car. And I didn't turn around. Perhaps if I turned around, I would have been a little warned.
mm.
But I went up to the door and I rang the doorbell. And when she came to the door, I opened my coat and went, ta da! And the look on her face haunts me to this day.
Mm,
She looked horrified.
mm.
I thought she was going to be sick. And I looked down. The stopcock had fallen off the feeding tube, and my whole dress was covered in bile.
Oh no.
It's funny now. But not so funny for Ralph's car, which was beige.
Oh no. Mm.
He turned out not to be a good guy anyway,
Oh,
so
then he deserved
hey
it.
there. And
Mm,
she felt terrible that
mm.
she upset me, but it certainly wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
It was another 5 months after that. So at about 14 and a half months after the doctor emerged, took out the tube, it was about 14 and a half months after the initial surgery. We took the kids out. She helped me get the kids, and we went out to McDonald's. And it took me only an hour and 15 minutes. I ate one chicken nugget. I ate the chicken nugget, me.
Mm.
I was so excited. We were all so excited. I know the people working at McDonald's must have thought we were crazy. But a chicken nugget, that's a big deal. Yes, it was a huge deal.
Mm.
And we went back and forth for the next almost 20 years.
Mm.
10 years I lived on onshore because I couldn't swallow stuff.
Oh my God.
And other things caused problems because once they know this now, but people who have bariatric surgery and not a vertical bandit, because you are absolutely right, it was stopped because it was too dangerous
Mm.
and too many, they lost a lot of people. But the biggest issue was the malabsorption and the
Mm.
malnutrition. And once you cut somebody's bowel enough times, you leave a lot of scar tissue.
Mm.
and that can cause other problems as well. So I have, think of people with Crohn's. I have a form of that where I can't digest fats. I can't, there are days I can't digest anything.
Mm.
My my body seems to play a different tune every week, so we never quite know what is or isn't going to work. There are certain things know for a fact don't work, so we
Yeah.
just stay away from those.
Yeah.
But it's every day is interesting.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, if I tell you I'm having a shitty day, that
Mm.
is not a euphemism.
Oh man.
Okay, all that to say, life does get better.
Okay.
In 1997, and I know you're going to say, what, better? I get hit by another car.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we talked about three near-death experiences. We've gone over two.
Yeah, yeah. I was hit by a road rage man in a parking lot. He was trying to run over my children, and I stepped in the way, and he backed up with me on the hood of his car.
Oh my gosh.
People got around his car and wouldn't let him go anywhere. He wasn't going very fast. He was in a parking lot. But my legs are so badly damaged that it was an issue. And from this surgery that we're talking about now, I developed hepatitis C because a lot of the blood I got came from prisoners in America during that time when there was a scandal about the HIV and the HCV. Yeah. And then I got insulin dependent diabetes, which comes from the fact that my pancreas was shutting down and different things were not working. And it seemed that they would give me these bits of information at Christmas. So I started to really hate Christmas because every Christmas I was getting a gift that I really didn't want.
Mm.
And in 2001, so this is actually after that accident, in 2001, we had been on holidays. We came home. I bought a new car and I called my friend and said, come on, we're going to go to the movies. I want you to see my car. And so off we went. And in getting out of the car, my cane got caught in my pant leg and I went out on my face.
Oh geez.
Yeah. And there was a truck parked on the other side of my car. And the guy in the truck said all he saw suddenly was feet and then nothing. He said, and I didn't know what happened. I just knew I had to call an ambulance. Thank God he did. I shattered my humerus in my right arm. It broke in 60 pieces. I hit the wheel well of the car next door. I broke my nose. I shattered my front teeth. I fell less than 18 inches.
Oh my gosh.
But we now know I have osteoporosis really bad.
Oh man.
And that too comes from
That
the gift
surgery.
of this surgery. Yeah. And all of those pieces happen quite a bit if you look at the annals of bariatric surgery, because once you cause that much trauma inside the body,
Mm.
it does leave echoes and
Yeah.
remnants, which is a problem. But having said that, 1997, we'll go back to that accident. My biggest thing at that time, because I had put weight back on. Now, we now know why, because I didn't have my stomach stapled, but I didn't know that as we'd come through that. And I was so angry with me and just fed up and was trying to find something positive in life. And when the ambulance arrived, all I could think was, I am not letting these people pick me up. I don't want to strain them. We can be so vain as humans. When you are focused on your weight, it is so sad because nothing else seems to matter. And I literally fought them going in the ambulance.
Wow.
And then, and I beat Taylor Swift here. I got in that ambulance and I suddenly thought, oh my God, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm the
Oh,
common denominator.
hmm.
There has to be more to life than just this shit.
Yeah.
This can't be all there is. And I sat there, and all of a sudden, the paramedic said, are you okay? Because I was smiling. But yeah, I'm fine. Oh my
Oh.
God. I have choice. I knew who Viktor Frankl was. I'd read the book. I have choice. Right as of this minute, I am choosing to stop being such an asshat
Hmm.
and not choose yuck. There has to be a way to change that. And
Hmm.
I delved into every book I could get my hands on.
Hmm.
I read the Four Agreements, the Ninth
Love that
Insight,
book.
Katie Byron, all kinds of people. And it became about what can I learn? How can I change this? And by 2004, I'd found a spiritual advisor. My son calls her the holistic missile because she gets right to the heart of the matter. Absolutely. And when I shattered my arm in 2001, I was terrified that they were going to take me to the hospital where he
Mhm.
had killed me. And I said, no, I will not go. No, I'm not going to that hospital. And my friend said, it's okay. Just go to the French hospital. I'm French. It's not a problem. And it was closer in actual fact. So that's what I did. And in emergency that night was Dr. Philippe Fleuriot Chateau, who is now the head of orthopedics at the Malfar Hospital in Ottawa. And that man restored my faith in doctors.
Hmm.
And
He must have been amazing because
he's not
your
only
faith in
amazing, he's
doctors was,
gorgeous.
oh, that helps.
My
But
mother used to like going to my appointments because for 5 months my arm was attached to me. We were trying to get it to heal. I would go see him every 3 days because they built a prosthetic for my arm. And my mother, he would tuck her under his arm and show her the x-rays. And my dad and I would think, she would never look at that for anybody else. What on earth?
it's so funny.
But yeah, he is wonderful. And thanks to him, I found the liver specialist because I now have cirrhosis.
Oh my
I
God.
have chronic pancreatitis. And last October, I had to have surgery for a massive hernia. We named him Fred. Fred is in my small bowel, and
Okay.
he was from all the cuts they made because you can't just keep cutting people open and have nothing happen.
Yeah.
Fred has been dealt with, so that's all good. And that the doctor who did that was very conscientious. It took 2.5 years for him to agree to do the surgery.
Wow.
And he had to have the cardiologist and the liver specialist and everybody on the team on board to do
Mhm.
it. And my only issue, I'm not too happy because 2 months ago I was told I have chronic kidney disease
Oh gosh.
that we'll now have to deal with.
Oh.
And it's developed. I have lymphedema from all the damage to my legs from the actual accident, which
Oh.
is frustrating because now I'm having a hard time walking.
Oh.
However, I'm not, don't count me out yet.
Oh. Okay, so I have to ask the surgeon. You sued, obviously, you said.
Yes, but I'm in Canada.
Okay, I did. Yeah. What does that mean then?
Back then, you couldn't have a jury,
Okay.
you just got a judge.
Okay.
And judges like me,
Hmm.
that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Shoot.
Yeah.
Was hoping
Yeah.
that was going to end with that guy getting locked up
Yeah,
in
wouldn't that have been nice?
big trouble. Sometimes
No,
I,
and the universe does provide, okay? When we moved here in 2006 or 7, maybe, I ran into a nurse in Canadian Tire, which is like a hardware store. I was trying to get a box and I couldn't pick it up. And I don't know, we started talking, and it turns out she's from that hospital. And she asked, funny enough, about the scar on my neck. And she said, "Oh, did you have thyroid surgery?" Nope. Nope, nope. This is what I had. She said, "What?" And we talked about the surgeon, and she said, "Oh my God, I now understand why I'm asking these questions.
Mm.
I think the universe wants you to know he was arrested for road rage. He dropped his laser pointer in the guy's car and the knife that he threatened the guy with, and he was frog marched out of the hospital in handcuffs, which, hey, all that
That's
mattered to me was you stopped him operating on
yes,
other people,
yes.
because the nurses in OR and ICU said they called him Dr. Nick because he nicked everything he touched.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. What a crazy story.
It really is.
That's just wild. And you're not the only one that went through it either. There's other people out
No,
there that also experienced all of that. And they say that's why malpractice or insurance is so high
yeah.
because you fuck up that many times, you're screwed.
And
So,
absolutely. And we do know, had this happened in the States,
mm,
I would have been well compensated. The interesting thing is, the American medical journals were following this case in the late 90s because in the court documents, he states that he used poetic license in leaving some of his data and notes on his patients, which is
wow.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So we've mentioned suicide once with your friend and then
Yeah.
you. So a couple times.
Yeah.
So what led you into doing the suicide work that you're doing now?
Okay. In actual fact, okay, I lost 6 people before I turned 30.
Oh man.
And that was hard enough. But in 2018, I was starting to do a lot more. I was doing digital integration and optimization and was invited to LinkedIn in Toronto for the day for a tour. So I thought, you know what, I'll make it a nice trip. And I went down on the train on business class, thought, oh, this will be great. And when I got to Toronto, I had just bought a new phone. And I went into this little store that had some funky covers for the phones. And I bought a cover and thought, oh, that's really nice. And it was all blingy. I love bling.
Ooh, me too.
Oh, yeah, it's very girly. I'm glamma. That is
Oh,
not a
love that.
speech impediment. It's GLAMMA. They can call me. Anyway, the gentleman who was ringing me up at the cash said, "Oh my God, it's so sad. She died this morning." I said, "What?" He said, "Kate Spade. She took her life this morning."
Oh
I
yeah.
said, "Oh my God, that's awful." And on the way home, I thought, "Oh my God, it's just so many people." I had heard of 2 other people just the month before. We were doing with a ladies group, Ladies Who Lunch here in Ottawa, and we had some young people come down from Nunavut and some of the indigenous areas, territories that are up north, because they're losing so many of their friends. And one young lady had come down asking for help
Mm.
because they had nothing to do up there. They had no sports equipment, nothing. And so we were trying to help them in some way and make a difference for suicide. And it was preying on my mind. Within a couple of days, Anthony Bourdain took his life.
Mm.
And he was someone that was really important to my son.
Mm.
And we had watched him for years. And I thought, okay, I have to do something. And I didn't know what to do or how to do it. And I just started a podcast called Keep Breathing. It was hit and miss. I'd talk about it, or I didn't say an awful lot about my own ideation because my parents were still alive, or
Mm.
my dad was still alive. And I didn't want to hurt my dad
Yeah.
anymore. They lived through an awful lot with me. And my sister had stage 4 malignant melanoma.
Mm.
She got it in 1997. They cut away part of her face here where the melanoma was. And she lived for 24 and a half years
Mm.
with that. And then in 2021, she got a Moderna shot and was dead in 3 weeks. She was 5 years younger than me. That was the almost the capper, I guess. But I limped along with this podcast. And Christmas 2020, a client was telling me about a visioning workshop they were doing. A bunch of lawyers and authors and what have you. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay, I'll go to that and get prepped for next year. And I did. It was a full day, it was really good. And at the end of the day, they went around and said, okay, so what are you doing going forward? What are your plans for 2021? And when it came my turn, they all know me as digital integration and optimization. And some voice started talking and said, I can't see any more people die. I am working on a podcast for suicide, and we just have to stop this. We have to prevent what we can. And to this day, it's no longer prevent. I'm all about life preservation.
Mm.
I want us to teach children that their thoughts are not all theirs, they're not all real, and you don't have to act on them.
Mm.
But the brain is the most important machine in the world, and we need to know how to use it. And we don't teach children any of that.
Mm. And then it's compounded with social media and all the things these days.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And my client's face was like, after she said, where did that come from? Because I had not talked to anybody
Yeah.
in my business community about any of this. And exactly a week later, I tend to say to the universe, okay, show me, show me, what do I do now? And I got a call from a woman in California who is absolutely brilliant. She does augmented reality and other things. And she said, I know you don't like Apple, but I want you to go get an iPad. What for? She said, because there's this new thing called Clubhouse. It's
Oh, I
audio
was on
only.
Clubhouse. Yeah.
It's audio only. I think you'll find it really useful. She meant for digital integration. And I thought, okay, I trust her. So off I toddled, got myself an iPad, came back, and within 3 days, I had started a room on suicide. It was originally called Suicide Zombies and Forgiveness,
Mm.
but we had to change that because we were attracting the wrong crowd.
Oh.
And it really is about suicide, Zen, and forgiveness.
Mm.
Because when you can get to the Zen, the forgiveness comes easier.
Mm.
And I'm a firm believer in using humor as medicine. It is
Mm.
the one thing you can use yourself, put it in your toolbox, and that can get you out of almost any situation.
Mm.
And now, in fact, there is a foundation for hope because they have proven at Harvard that you can teach hope as a skill. That just came out last Wednesday.
Interesting.
Yes, it really is. And if you'll let me, I'll give you the links after that your audience can check out.
Yeah, I will put that in the
It
show
is
notes. Yeah.
it is absolutely brilliant.
That's amazing. So now you've been doing your podcast. It started as Clubhouse Room, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
That's interesting. I didn't know if I'd ever hear about Clubhouse again, but
yeah. It started before, like it started in 2018,
yeah.
but it started for real weekly in January as
Okay.
soon as Clubhouse came out.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm a hairdresser and I don't know, there were all these like rooms for hairdressers in there and
Yeah,
everybody's like, you have to get on Clubhouse. It's the next best thing. And then it died out. So,
there are some people still using it.
okay.
Okay, and people that I became friends with that I'm still friends with. And there is a use for all of these things, but I will tell you, I've always been an early adopter. I ran a show from 2011 called Business Banter Plus, and I ran it right until 2024. And basically, it's just me being curious. I talk to all kinds of people, bands
Hmm.
and authors and business people and actors and actresses and comedians, just because I wanted to show people they're real people too.
I love that. Yeah. Because they just get a lot of the times they're doing scripted interviews and things like that, and it's really hard to get a real good vibe of who
Yeah,
they
of
are.
who
And
they really are. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, my dear, are you going to write a book?
Yes, there is a book that's half written.
Okay.
And it sounds so stupid. It's been half written since 2013.
Well, there's a
Yeah.
lot to put in that book.
Yeah, but your audience may be able to understand this. When you have things like suicidal ideation and you don't believe you're good enough, you
Mm.
talk yourself out of a lot of things. And
Yeah.
I would think, oh, it's just yucky. Why would anyone want to hear my story? I don't know why, but I do know they do want to hear. And I firmly believe if I can help one person to make a better choice to stay, then my life is of value.
Yeah. Looking at everything that you've been through, and we didn't even touch everything in here. I mean, your miscarriages and things like that too. And then seeing you're such a bright light now, and I love what you're doing in the world. And so it shows that there is a light at the end of the tunnel eventually, which I understand when people are in. Go ahead.
If you choose, if you
Mm,
choose, the
hmm.
light is always there, but you have to choose it.
That's true. That's true because when you're in the darkest of dark, it is hard to want to choose that. It really is.
Yeah.
Oh, my dear, this has been so good. Thank you so much
Well, thank
for
you.
the work you're doing, for sharing your story. I'm sure it is not easy to relive that, even though you've come to terms with a lot of it. But I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of that.
Thank you, Tawny. That's so kind.
Yes, do you have any parting words for my listeners?
I do. I do. I say it all the time. Make the very most of
Mm,
your today every day,
yeah.
whatever that is to you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. And I will link your podcast in the show notes too. And then it looks like you're on all social media.
Pretty much. Yeah.
If anybody wants to get in touch with you or anything like that or listen to your podcast, that'll all be in the show notes. So,
You
yeah.
can find me at the Dark Pollyanna. You can find me at Elaine Lindsay. You can find me at Suicide Zen Forgiveness.
Hmm.
Or you can find me on LinkedIn.
Was Pollyanna a Shirley Temple movie?
No, actually, it wasn't. It
Okay.
was Haley Mills.
Okay. I have a Shirley Temple story in my head that I feel
Oh,
was the same one, but maybe it wasn't.
yeah, no, there was Heidi was a big
Oh,
Shirley.
that's the one I think I'm thinking
Yes,
of.
yes, yes.
That's funny. Okay, my dear, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.